Hi Sharon, I thought I would just send you a video to sort of explain my ideas as promised, and I've been working on your garden concepts, and thank you for all those photographs you sent. It was really helpful to sort of get a really good picture of what we're working with in the space. So let's just go straight in, and I'll talk about my ideas and hopefully shed some light on what I've done. Let's just look at your garden as it is now. I know you're on a very limited budget, and I'm trying to get the very most for your money really for you. So obviously we were talking about sort of keeping the existing paving and perhaps adding to it in places. And we talked about how the storage unit has become a bit of a feature in itself, but that you're going to lose that. And also, I wanted to sort of explain how these current sort of bed positions are kind of drawing attention to the wrong thing, really. What I'd like to do is try and bring more attention into your garden so that we're not drawn to the boundaries and the sort of awkward angles and the eye is not going immediately to the fence line. What we've got to do is try and draw the eye around and into the garden and have some features more within the garden and sort of bring some of your lovely plants away from the boundary walls, because what's happened is you've got all these lovely pots and you have got, I can see, even without everything being out, I can see you've got lots and lots of plants there that we can make use of, and some established shrubs and things, but they're all just pushed to the edges, completely pushed to the edges, so we need to bring them in and keep some of the interest in the garden. So let me show you where I've got to. Right, okay, so bear with me a minute. I just want to zoom in here and show you what I've done. So I've taken your basic measurements that you provided and had a good look through all the photographs, and I've drawn that out to scale as best I can. It might not obviously be completely accurate because the drawing you gave me just had like 12 metres across, so I didn't know exactly these exact angles, but I've taken a bit of an estimate on some of the angles, and I think it's pretty much there, give or take. You'd given me this dimension as 4 metres, the one down here 3, and then you'd given me the dimension of the paving out. I know the width across, and you'd given me some of the area of paving here. So I think I'm as close as possible, to the sort of overall dimensions and scale of your plot. And obviously, you've got a bit of a funny angle going on here, and it's also a sort of wider, wide garden. It's wider than it is long. So that's why we've got this problem that your eye immediately goes to that back fence. And the way that this garden was sort of laid out with this brick edging going in these sort of semicircles around the edge, that's just drawing the eye, boom, straight to the back and to that fence. What I want to do is fill that with planting and keep some interest within the garden itself. And I've come up with 2 designs for you, thinking about the budget and thinking how we can possibly do this. The first one would be my preferred option, I think, but using curves and circles. But because slightly concerned about budget and thinking if this proves to be too expensive from a landscaping point of view, there's also a square rectangular version that I've done which has all the same concepts in it and all the sort of same designer tricks, if you like, but it might just be a bit more cost effective for you to stay more within your budget. So I think I'm going to give you both of these so that you can go away with those and talk to builders and see where you can go from there. So this is the first one. As you can see, oops, it's just correcting itself there. Let me leave it alone. There we go. as you can see, what I've done is gone with your existing paving that you've already got, which is kind of goes down the boundaries and across and up this side, and just added to it slightly. The very first thing I would get anybody to do is lift those brick edge swirls that you've got going round the, the back fence there, and whether they can be reused or not, there's a possibility. If they come up clean and they're good enough to reuse, then great, we can use them and do a brick edging around the lawn shapes instead. And I hope you can see that what that does, kind of immediately it brings the eye in and into the garden. The focus of attention is being drawn into the very sort of geometric lawn shapes. I've taken a sort of oval shape here and laid it on its side, and then I've intersected with a circle, complete circle, so the centre of the circle shape is here and then the oval is coming off it. And I've chosen to take the brickwork all the way through and dissect through the garden, and there's a really definite reason for that. It just breaks up this kind of long wide expanse of your garden, so it's quite clever really. It's just without that, if that was gone and we just had the full lawn shape, it just makes the whole space look a lot wider. But by having this kind of vertical line, if you like, going through the garden, it just helps break up the space. And the curves are doing a great job of drawing the eye in and around, and we're not just immediately drawn to the edges, whereas before your circular features were going around the edges and you know you immediately want to go to the edge. So hopefully, you know, this can be created using existing brick on edge and used again, and then it's a case of adding a little bit to your existing paving and having this circular shape cut through. They just need to be cut on a curve so that we've got a curved edge. And hopefully what you can see I've done is I've taken the path and I've linked it all in. So this has got a round here. If you imagine, it would cut through the lawn if it was a continuous line, and then I've created this swathe of planting around here, and it just touches the edge and then it skims off there. So that incorporates your bench. You can keep your bench seat there. You've got room for some of your pots because you've got a big collection of pots. But what I would like to see is some of those pots, some of those plants that are all potted up along there actually going in the ground, and this is a border that's created along the back here, and it's just full up. You can fill that with all your lovely plants. So this swathe of planting, again, it's just the idea of bringing some planting within the garden so that you haven't just got planting all the way around the edge. And then when you're sitting there having your morning coffee or lunch, it's just another kind of little visual barrier. It just breaks up the space, so it's just not this one big sort of long expanse of lawn. You've got a little swathe of planting coming around here, and it means that the bench might be partly obscured, so it creates, you know, a little bit of mystery and intrigue so that you can go for a little wander and sort of discover something almost. The final kind of design element to this garden, which is really key and really important, is the placement of just one feature tree here. It's only a small tree. You can choose something like an ornamental cherry, or you know, something attractive like that, which will give you lovely dappled shade and beautiful blossom. But it's at the junction here between the two lawn spaces where they meet in this lovely deep V shape. I've created a circular pebble feature with the tree right in the middle, and then you can have it uplit if you wanted to put some lights in, or you can put some pots around it and other little features, or you can even plant within that gravel. But again, it's all about just drawing the eye into the sort of more of a central part of the garden rather than stuck on the boundary. So I hope that all makes sense. I'm going to take you for a little spin because it's not a 3D rendered garden. I've just done a 2D shape, but I did put the planting in at 3D because I wanted to sort of be able to show you as best I could how this changes the layout and the view of your garden. There you go. So hopefully you can get a better sense of how that works in terms of sort of breaking up this sort of length, the width, I should say, the width of your garden, because you've got this wide expanse, by breaking this up, the lawn, by having planting within the garden on this swathe of planting, partly obscuring areas like the little bench seating area, and then having the tall element, the feature element in this juxtaposition here, this point here, with a sort of circular feature around it. Let's take you for another little spin around so you can see different viewpoints. Some of the plants seem to be floating a bit up in the air, sorry about that. There we are, let's see it from this angle. There you go. So hopefully this is a cost-effective solution in terms of keeping your existing paving and just adding to it slightly, and adding those curved shapes, and putting the brick on edge in and getting yourself a nice feature tree. So I'm going to go to the overhead view again and zoom out so that you can see the difference. If I just put your original plans side by side like that, you can see how I've played with what is essentially already there. There we are, let's line that up. So, you know, you've already got these planting sort of areas around here. You've got a little planting area here. I've kept that. This is all your existing paving. So actually that might be helpful for you to see. If I just sort of move that over, I wonder if that would help. If I kind of slide that over top, you might be able to see just how much paving there is to add. Can you see that? Does that make sense? You can just sort of see that there's a little bit of paving to add to. Oh, that's a better fit. There we are. You know, it's kind of playing with what's already there, essentially, but it would increase your patio space, and it's just about getting the shapes right. So let's drag him back. I hope that helps. Yeah, it's just about forming the shapes and making sure that you're creating interest in the right areas, not at the edge of the garden. So then, as I said at the start, I wanted to make sure that you also had an even more budget option. So I've taken those same principles that we've talked about with the circles and the curves, and I've created another design for you using the same principles but with squares and rectangles. And we always find in design, when we come to build, squares and rectangular designs are always slightly less labour intensive to build, just for sort of obvious reasons of, you know, not having to make so many cuts to the paving, and just sort of using the existing sort of slab layout and design. So but essentially it's the same thing. On first glance you might not think it's that attractive from overhead. I'm just going to take you down on a spin first of all on this one. So perhaps if I'd shown you this one first, you might have thought might have been more appealing. There we go. So essentially it's the same idea. I'm dissecting the garden with this visual trick of putting the brick on edge through it to create kind of two lawn areas, and then in the gap between them where these two sort of shapes slide and kind of sit together, we're creating the little pebble feature with the feature tree, putting the planting around the edge again, keeping your bench where it is, and again bringing a little area of planting within the garden. I've just done another square here of the brick, paved brick on edge, so that we've got a kind of balance here of the pebble area and another little feature area here to put one of your big large feature pots on. Again, it's expanding the patio size, it's expanding a bit of the paving, it's taking up the brick on edge that you've already got and relaying it, hopefully, and adding to it if need be, or it might be that you need all new brick on edge and just add to the existing paving. But that works just as well. So let me take you to the view above again, and you can have a closer look at that. All the same principles apply. Add in a little bit of paving, giving you more space for a dining area, creating interesting shapes of the lawn, bringing some planting in, and here is the extra little kind of brick area that I've taken. I'm just going to hide for a minute the tree and this pot here so that you can see what I mean. There you go. So I've created a little square of the brick, which is a nice contrast with the stone, and that's a little rectangular area, and that kind of sits nicely with this little rectangular pebbled area that the tree would go in. Okay, so let's just put those features back in, the pot and the tree, and I'll just give one last zoom out, and I shall print these off for you, Sharon, so that you've got each plan. But the last thing I wanted to do, like the first design, I wanted to show you how the square design fits with what you have existing. So let's slide your existing garden over on the modern technology. This is great, isn't it? You can see, so there's your existing garden in yellow. So you can see there that it's, again, adding a bit of paving in. It's sort of adding a bit of depth to your patio to give you more room, and it's a little bit more depth on the side there. And that just means it's just trying to take away this, you know, it's a kind of visual trick that we're trying to make the garden look longer than it is wide and not accentuate the width of the garden. And hopefully you can see, if I just leave you with those three side by side, you can see how both the new designs kind of really break up the space, and they, you know, they don't accentuate the width of your garden, and I think that's hopefully what you wanted to achieve. So I hope that's okay, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thanks, Sharon. Bye for now.